Here's a random question. If you're on an old sailing ship, where's the best place for your horse to ride? Do you put her up on deck, somewhere down in the hold, or around in the middle? Each area has its perks, but which area has the most perks? To get a bit of help, let's ask an expert. Lieutenant Colonel Arthur Shirley, a prolific crosser of oceans in a time when most people were stuck crossing their own streets. He offered many interesting secrets on how to get a big, bucking beast overseas in his 1854 guide. But why would we have even cared about all this? Well, if you were traveling today, what is one of the few drawbacks to flying versus driving long distance? You don't have your cool car when you get to your destination. Rather, you have to risk what you get on the rental roulette. We're not so different from our ancestors. Having their favorite horse on the far side of a voyage was a concern for merchants, soldiers, and immigrants alike. And if you think being on a ship for 7 weeks sounds miserable, think of what it would be like to be stuck in a stall the whole time. Don't you want to keep your pony pal happy? Well, your horse would be more comfortable if she had a hammock. Yes, horse hammocks are real things. So, let's have a listen to Arthur Shirley on how to make your sudden little 19th century voyage as comfortable for you and your horse as possible. Now, I don't know your name, but let's call your horse Mary. From the top, how's your Mary going to be loaded up? She's a passenger after all, not cargo. Well, there are a couple of options. The first is doing it the way that you would be doing it, walking up a gangway. That's the long plank connecting the pier to the ship. It'll be much easier if you have a line of horses all loading at once, for she could just follow the herd. If this ship you booked really is a ship of sail, she would be likely going up onto the main deck, the place where the sun shines. But if you're on one of those newfangled engine-powered steamers, she may be going down to the deep, dark hold. If any other horses in the horse line start to get excitable, or nervous, watchful sailors would make sure the jumpy one is pulled out and made to do better later. You don't want a panicked driver disturbing everyone else's commute, after all. The other way to bring aboard Mary is the scenic route. All you have to do is lift her like a great sack of groceries from the pier to the ship. This would be done in a carefully balanced canvas sling. No, this isn't the hammock I was talking about, we'll get there. Sometimes wooden crates were used for this, though our friend Shirley recommends against this. Big boxes are more likely to splinter and buckle if your horse were to panic. Unless you were packing a Pegasus, your Mary would likely meet a miserably moist end. If you are going the scenic route, you'll need to have prepared in advance. Mary needs to have fasted before she is grabbed and hoisted high in the air by her belly, especially limiting how much water she drank. This isn't so much to keep her from getting seasick. In fact, horses are biologically incapable of throwing up. But having food or fluid in her will make her bloated, causing the whole affair to be about as comfortable for her as tightening your belt after a large meal would be for you. But if you go through all the trouble of this sling thing, you could skip the whole on-deck part and deposit the horse right onto the level where she's supposed to be. Yep, there's your answer. The hold is the safest place for a horse to be. The lower in the ship, the less rocking you feel. It's the same principle of how you can wiggle the far end of a long pole quite hard with very slight movements where you are holding it. Mary would much prefer to be on a non-wiggling deck. Remember, this isn't about seasickness. Rather, it's to keep her uninjured on rough seas. While Mary can reasonably correct herself when swaying side to side, going head over hooves would be a serious recipe for injury. Best keep her balancing act as simple as possible, even if it means she sees less of the sun. If she's from England, she's already used to that anyway. So, now Mary is fine and dandy down in her damp, dark stable below deck. It has stalls, just like a barn, if the barn also had moving floors. English horse though she may be, even in the darkness, she would still like some fresh air. She's lucky you chartered her with an experienced crew then. Properly outfitted ships are designed to bring fresh air down to the lower decks. This is done through either pipes connecting them to the outside, or via a set of wind sails. These big pieces of canvas are able to capture some of the air pushing the ship along and redirect it through openings in the ship, airing out the inside. This wasn't just for dissipating that nice, ripe smell of livestock. Good ventilation meant good health. Shirley reported on a voyage he took in 1842 from Quebec that several horses had to be put down due to bad air circulation. The ventilation pipes were covered during a storm, and the stagnant air was blamed for 3 horses coming down with glanders, a dreadfully contagious equine disease. So, make sure Mary can breathe easy. Now that you and Mary are all set up, you can enjoy the monotony that is your months at sea. Day by day, you notice the dung being brought up from the stables below to be disposed of over the sides of the ship. This was probably the most visible bit of mare maintenance you'd see, but you may also smell the vinegar that would be used to wash out the stalls. Ideally, there would be 2 empty stalls on both ends of the horse passengers. These vacant spaces made it easier to clean the stalls. It's easier to clean a hallway when there's no horse there. So, starting from the ends, horses could be moved to the vacant stall and have their old one cleaned. The next horse would then be moved into the freshly cleaned stall, have theirs cleaned, and so on until the cleaners reach the middle, where a new pair of vacancies would be opened up. Next time that the stables need to be cleaned out, the horses would just be moved back towards the center instead of the outside. Then, all that stable muck could be tossed overboard. Good thing the ocean is an infinite waste bin, right? Your voyage over the Atlantic could take a month and a half if you were in a sailing ship, and even a steamer would be pushing 2 weeks. You would be bored, but at least you could move. Mary cannot, other than those few steps to the side when her stall was being cleaned. That was a lot of time to be on her legs. They would be sore and stiff. A daily hand massage of her weary limbs helps with the blood circulation, but the real relief would be to get off her hooves for a while. That's where the horse hammock comes in. Canvas would be strung up across each stall for the horse to rest on. With it bound tightly to either wall, the canvas could take the weight of the horse, allowing her to give her legs a break. Indeed, once horses figured out what their new hammock was for, some would be so eager to throw themselves on it that sailors would have to hurry finishing stringing it up before they were tackled by an excited equine. Shirley reports that some horses would find such relief in the hammock that they would relax all the muscles in their body, laying there for some minutes as if dead. Hammocks, like those for yourself on deck, were only good for fair weather though. Horses relaxing on slings would have to stand up during storms, otherwise they would be careened about like those clacking ball desk toys, on top of some rather nasty friction burns. But now that Mary can relax at least part of the time, she can turn her attention to the best part of sailing: eating. Shirley reported that each horse should receive an allotment of 6 pounds of oats, 5 pounds of bran, 10 pounds of hay, and 6 gallons of water. That's 9.5 kilos of fodder and 23 liters of water if you're from the continent. Our lieutenant colonel also recommended that food should be served wet, with some water sprinkled over the hay in the manger. Moistening that dry, crusty grain like this would make the horses less greedy for water later. Well, after a long journey of boring deck games, charades, and fair weather hammocking, the opposite shore is finally sighted. You and Mary have arrived. Time to get off this blessed boat. Disembarkation will be much the same as embarkation, only in reverse. Before Mary is slung up or walked off though, a farrier should examine every horse's shoe to ensure they haven't been knocked about aboard. Only then can they touch grass again. Don't go running off just yet though. You'll have to be gentle with Mary for the next few days. Don't let her gallop, and don't place a load on her. Imagine being cooped up in an economy class plane, car, or bus for a month, and you may be able to sympathize with her sore legs. Besides, You should have the patience of a saint after your voyage. But you both made it, and now you have your very own horse overseas. No funny filly rentals required. Hopefully you have a fun trip ahead of you. For some in-ride entertainment, I have a video on how horses were bred in the 1800s, or if you're more interested on how other fragile stuff used to be moved from where it was to where it was needed, check out my video on the overseas ice trade. But for now, thank you for watching, and I hope you and Mary have a great day.